InControL against Artosis debate, and keep going back and forth.
That'll be easy.
War field stabilized. Want to turn up the heat? We gotta move.
All right, hello everybody. This is State of the Game. It is November 1st, 2011, and I'm going to be your host today. Obviously, JP is not feeling well, so rather than have him absolutely demolish his throat, we're just going to go ahead and have me host it for today. But we're going to be joined by some pretty awesome people here. We've got IdrA. Greg, how you doing?
Pretty good.
What are you drinking there, buddy?
Whiskey sour.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
He's going to put some hair on his chest. And then we've got Day 9. Mr. Sean Plott, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm recovering from amnesia last night. The kind of feeling that I had after playing Amnesia was a lot like when I went skydiving. That like there were so many chemicals flushed through my system, I just needed to be very quiet. So I sort of like stared at a dark corner until I passed out afterwards. So I'm going to be doing it again on Wednesday. Yeah.
You didn't end up beating it then, right? It's not that sort of a game.
No, I played the first 2 hours. I was in the middle of the water part, and then there was like I needed to lockpick a door, and I just was like, I'm done. That's the show. Come back later. I'm not going to try to figure it out. It was really scary.
Well, there's a lot of threads on Reddit if you want to check that out. I know that Sean put on a little bit of a show. Some people are calling it the best Fun Day Monday ever, so check that out.
Day9.tv?
Yeah. And there might be a little bit of an echo. Greg's microphone actually picks up everything. In fact, you can hear Ghost speaking into it, so...
It's because of SteelSeries. It's actually just too good.
Too good of a microphone. Those rat bastards. So we're going to just kind of have to deal with that for now. I apologize. But we also have Destiny sitting in the throne, half his face showing on that camera. Mr. Stephen Bonnell, number 2. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Short and sweet. I love it. All right, and then as always... the chill toss, the man himself. He's actually been practicing a little bit here. Mr. Tyler, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic.
You're always doing fantastic. And JP will be doing the production side of things, so there's going to be some awkwardness. Think of this as, I don't know, some kind of first date, or for some of you, maybe a first date you read about or something like that. But it's, we're going to, it's going to be awkward. It's just going to happen. I don't know what to tell you. He's doing production in Texas. I'm sitting here. But you know what? We're State of the Game, and damn it, we're going to have some fun. So that is what it is. I'm going to run through the topics real quick, and then we're going to talk about them. So we got the Milky situation, tournaments paying out. That's a big fiasco going on right now. New GSL format, GSL Code S, round of 32, day 1. Brood War Pros practicing StarCraft 2. IdrA seeds in GSL as well as to Muslim, and IdrA on the new HOTS units. I know that he's been asked that a million times over, I'm sure. So we're going to ask him what he thinks about the future of Protoss and Heart of the Swarm. It's going to be sick. And then we're going to do user questions. So if you want to start asking questions right now, go ahead and tweet at JP, and then he's going to go ahead and cycle those back to me. Oh, wow.
Oh, thank God, Greg. That was awesome. That was incredible.
JP is a tech fixer, dude. The recommendation to the mute. Okay. Well, let's start off with the Milky situation. So for any of you that are not familiar with what's going on there, Milkus? I'm going to call him Milkus. It is Milkus. Okay. He is a translator. He was kind of one of those guys who was in the right place at the right time. He was just able to translate for one of the first MLGs where they brought over all the Koreans, if not the first one. And I don't know. I don't want to... I mean, he's not necessarily a good translator. But
let's first say he was doing written translations for a while on Team Liquid.
So
before he did this. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah, he was a part of the community. But from there, he kind of gained notoriety. He became a little bit of the voice box for the Korean community to the non-Korean community. So what happened recently was he posted a thread on Reddit. And any one of you guys want to take it from there? I didn't actually read the thread. It got deleted. So did anyone catch it, or?
The gist of it was just Brood War is the only thing that's actually an esport because it dwarfs everything else in terms of size and involvement and quality and all that kind of stuff.
Well, he said The one thing I think that DJ Wheat especially responded to was that Milkus was saying StarCraft was the only game, the only esport where a very large percentage of the viewers are not players, that they're kind of like normal people that got pulled into this esport and they watch it. And that's what a lot of people had a problem with, because I think, DJ Wheat and Slasher and a bunch of other guys are arguing, that's very true for the fighter community, and it's just been true a lot in the past, and it's kind of like a weird thing to say, like, this is why it's a real esport. Like, how's that the criterion in the first place? So, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, he then took that and went on to write a blog on Team Liquid where he said, I'm done, I quit. And again, for the people that are not familiar with that, basically, the gist of it is, and don't, you can already feel the people like, that's not exactly what he said. It's the gist. The gist of it is that he said, I didn't ask for this. Okay? He didn't want the fame. He didn't need it. But it's awesome that he had it. And he's tired of the haters. He's tired of the flaming. He's just trying to further the community, so he quits. So we're going to do kind of an open talk about this. Both his points on Brood War being the number one sport forever, and everyone else can go die, but then also him quitting. So let's go ahead and shoot it around. Sean, I know that you've been scared out of your mind, but do you have any opinion on what was said or the situation at all?
I do. I'm an opinionated man, Jeff, and I'm here to share it. So let me first angle my microphone so that you can pick it up a little bit more clearly, but away from Greg, because I know we'll pick that up over in Phoenix. They're like, okay, so in terms of the opinion about that StarCraft is the only real esport game, I think that most people would disagree, and it's fine to disagree with that calmly, and I think a lot of people kind of have that opinion, like, well, I honestly feel like you can kind of maybe see that. I mean, Street Fighter 4, which I love watching like all the time, has never had a country that had channels with Street Fighter 4 playing on it in the way that like StarCraft Brood War would. So I can kind of see the other side of the argument, yet I still disagree, and that's about that. But the real issue is the fact that if you make that sort of statement, and then a few days later do this public, I'm done, I'm out, and all that sort of stuff, that suddenly makes it feel like you were talking about something way more seriously. Because I don't know about you guys, but I say a lot of stuff that I like kind of just throw out there. I'm like, well, I don't know, let's just see what that sounds like to throw it out there and see what the community says about it. And a lot of times I will seem like I have a strong opinion and then just sort of flop. And I'm like, no, I guess I disagreed with what I said. But the one thing that I would say is I actually just feel terrible that, like, Milkus got so stressed. Because I don't think anyone will ever quite get how ridiculously, stupidly overwhelming it is to have, like, a lot of people coming up and asking for a signature or asking to say hi at an event. Because no matter how long of a time you devote, there's always that first person that you couldn't get to. And every time I see that person, I'm just like, God, I mean, I have to go because I know, like, I have to put the show on, but you feel terrible, and it's, like, so stressful. And then, like, someone makes a post, like, God, this guy, like, wouldn't say hi to me. And it's like, I completely get that sort of, like, recoil. And I think it's an example of, like, how much stress can be put on someone when they feel like they have the eyes of a million billion people on them. So I completely and totally understand it. And he has my support, because if you actually talk to Milkus when, just at like a brunch where there's nothing like too stressful or crazy going on, he's like an awesome person and like fucking really, really smart. So
now, Sean,
I'm
going to come back to you because I know that I want to talk a little bit about the idea of handling the stress of the community. I know that that's something that you actually have a lot of strong words on. But we're going to go from your touchy-feely to Greg. Greg, I know that you have an opinion that could be considered maybe the opposite.
A little bit. I don't know. I've never really liked Milkus. He seems incredibly pretentious. Like, all of the stories about how he would just immediately blow people off if they tried to approach the Korean players, like, just try and be really flippant about it, and it seems like he got off on it. And then everything in the community, he's incredibly Korean biased in everything he does and says. Like, he'll defend the Koreans or the Korean opinion or KESPA no matter what, to the point that it almost comes off as racist. And then his interaction with the community in stuff like the EG versus TSL versus Puma and all that, because like you said, he is kind of the voice of Korea just because he's the one who takes the time to translate all the Twitter comments and all that kind of the fan reactions and netizen stuff. And I don't know, I've seen that he kind of translates everything with a Korean bias. Like he tries to alter the situation a little bit, try and make things sound the way he thinks. And really, the whole Brood War thing, it just comes off like he's trying to use his position as translator. He kind of stumbled into this position where he gets a lot of attention, just because, like you said, he was in the right place at the right time. He had that opportunity. So now a lot of people pay attention to him, and he's using that to push his own views, which come off as pretty stupid a lot of the time. Like this stuff about Brood War being the only true esport and all that. So yeah, in general, I just think he's a really pompous jackass, and it's a good thing he's gone.
There was the TLDR for people that didn't know that. I mean, anybody else got an opinion on this? I know that, like, Milkus does have that effect on people. He's a little bit of a polarizing figure somehow, even though he's, like, really timid. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, first I want to touch on it, but I would just want to stress, like, those MLG weekends, like, he's working his ass off, completely exhausted, like, busy all the time. And people might underestimate that. Not that it weighs in too heavily on this stuff, but I get the feeling a lot of people don't realize like how much work he has put in, work that wasn't biased but just freely given, and I think that always buys you a little bit of leeway. At least it always has on Team Liquid. If you give shit away for free, your time and effort, then you're allowed to make more mistakes and do more stupid shit, as Greg would know, as I would know, as Jeff would know.
Yeah.
So
hello.
That's what it goes.
Wow, that was awesome. I was there for it.
Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, I think he's definitely overstepped his bounds a little bit. I think I agree with Greg that he hasn't been giving a straight, neutral translation on a lot of things, and other times he's just outright tried to give his opinion on stuff, but he's not really an expert on anything. Just to be fair to him, I mean, that's just the truth. He's not an expert on anything. He reads a lot of stuff recently about StarCraft, and he's made some mistakes on how he's handled himself publicly, and I think that's just because a lot of people are going to make mistakes when they get put on a stage and they're, the whole community's looking at them. It's taken me years to kind of figure out how to interact with the community. I still do stupid shit. And you never know how someone's going to react in that situation. So I'm really sympathetic to him. But at the same time, he has made mistakes. It's just like, I feel like I'd rather the community be a little more forgiving, but like firm, and just be like, here, look, here's the shit you did wrong. It's okay. We really appreciate all the work you do, but, let's just move on and continue a good relationship. But what happened was he made a mistake. The community fucking hated him and sent him, like, the worst messages ever. And then, he made a instant decision, pretty much. He said, he thought about it overnight. That's nothing. And he decided to leave. And I don't think that's the best solution for everyone. So kind of sad about that.
Before I go back to you, Sean, Steven, you're a guy who obviously speaks his mind. You've definitely both garnered a lot of fans for that, but you've also gotten a lot of attention from the community about that. I mean, do you sympathize with the situation? Or is this just completely fucking, that's some idiot over there? I mean, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I've never known Milkus too much. Like, I don't follow his stuff too closely. I've always had the vibe, not to bash anybody, but just, this is the term, like, you know what a nostalgia fag is? Like, some people, like, get really hung up. You know, right? You guys don't know.
Yeah, I can see what you're getting at.
It's kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I mean,
Take a drink.
I mean, the thing was, if you read that post, like, everything he said was right about StarCraft Brood War, but it's just, like, at the end of it, he's like, hey, this is a really great game, this is a really great game, this is a really great game, all of your games are shit. Like, throwing that in at the end, which is, like, pretty much why everybody's so angry with the post. But, I mean, he wrote, like, as promised, like, the title of the post was, as promised, this is my incredibly elitist view of Brood War. And it's like, well, I mean, you prefaced it with that, and you definitely didn't fail to deliver on that Brood War elitism. Why are you so surprised that the StarCraft 2 community is mad that... I mean, I have no sympathy in terms of how people reacted, like... I mean, there was no other response that you could have expected. I mean, I don't know, it seems really weird that he seemed kind of surprised that everybody freaked out that he pretty much just shat on their game.
I was going to throw to Sean. Sean, are you okay?
What do you mean?
There he is. No, you're just fixing lights, no problem. You know what, actually, I'm looking at the stream chat, so that actually probably happened like 7.5 minutes ago. But the reason I want to go back to you on this issue is because I know, like, you kind of touched on this, but I feel like you have some wisdom to share. Like, you are kind of, it's an interesting figure to look at in this situation because you are, as far as people would know, completely beloved, right? Like, there's nobody that has issues with you. Sean is the best comment. Like, I'm seeing a thread on Reddit where there's that position for the esports manager. They're like, Sean is the right guy for that job, as if he has the fucking time to do it. And they're like, you know, like it happens all over. Like, there's like 20 threads like, oh, Sean played Amnesia last night, and I just cried myself to sleep with happiness. You know, so.
Oh God,
but,
I just cried myself to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, in a fetal position. We've talked. You know, it's actually hard to be in the limelight of the community, and I feel like Milkus is doing something that you probably would never advise. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to kind of experience that then?
I will say that, like, it is just weird to, like, have people talk about you. That's one of the weirdest things ever. And not just, like, you know, to pass by a hallway and hear someone be like, oh yeah, Sean was in a weird mood today or something like that, but to be like, here's a thread and there's like someone with like writing an essay about you, and you're like, well, that's you know. And honestly, like, that is hard to like get used to. I will say though, weirdly, I feel like my experience playing in like BGH when Brood War were like, everyone talked incredible shit to each other all the time, and they'd really make it so that your ego was on the line, and then you'd actually lose when you were trying, and you'd feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, you have to go through that a lot to realize after a while, it doesn't really matter, you know? It doesn't really, I mean, because, I mean, sure, everyone gets hate. I get hate mail. But, you know, it's whatever. You know, it happens. It's fine. And honestly, it's important to take someone who's throwing some sort of negativity at you and to be like, all right, now why would they be saying that to me? Is there something useful here? Maybe there's something useful here. Oh, cool. Thank you for that actually useful advice. It just, because I remember there was someone who said something really sharp and nasty to me right when I started doing the daily. But there was like a little bit of truth there, and I was like, oh yeah, it sounds like you're referring to this. I think that's good feedback, and let's go ahead and go with it. Just to sort of decide that no matter what's happening, you can sort of pull something positive out of it. And yeah, just don't have an ego. Don't.
Yeah.
It'll hurt a lot. A lot of times you think you won't, and then you lose that 2v2 BGH game against that guy who challenges you to a one-on-one, and you're like, all right, let's do it. And you're getting all excited. And then you try to go two-hatch Mutalisk and forget that you're on BattleNet and you don't actually have land micro, and all your Mutalisks fly straight into his Marines and they die, and then suddenly you just lost a 1v1 to some random kid on East because you forgot it wasn't on Icy Cup. Yeah, then all of a sudden you hit rock bottom, and you're like, oh, nothing happened. All right, cool. I don't know.
That's actually a really good point. You have to get used to it. Like,
yes.
The media event was the most hateful place ever, and that's why haters don't bother me now. Nothing can match Artosis losing. So, I'm good,
I mean,
forever.
It's actually true. And the fact that he's not here to defend himself makes it all that much sweeter, because I don't know that he'd disagree, but it's probably fun for a lot of people to imagine that he'd have an epic comeback to that.
But, you know, I think it's like so important for like so many people to know that when you are under that kind of pressure, the worst thing of all is there's actually nothing you can do about it. There's literally nothing. I distinctly remember once I had to reinstall a driver, and it maxed out my microphone volume, which just caused a lot of clipping when I was doing commentary. So people were like, oh my God, Dana, he screams way too much in his commentary. And, you know, you could map when this started and when I reinstalled the driver, and it was just like, oh, well, of course, let me turn this down. And I turned it down, and the complaints waned, but people had already, like, started to make a meme out of it, and every time I did a tournament, there was just like, does Day9 scream too much? And it's one of those, okay, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
Gotta let it go. That's, like, impossible. That is so hard to do. Like, nowadays, I know that it doesn't feel hard, but I've had, like, 10 years of comfort with that. I cannot emphasize enough how strange of a situation that is to be in. So that's why all the sympathy in the world for me goes out to Milkus, because I'm just like, this is... I completely... You went from just a person translating to just, like, celebrity, you know, and again, even though I think Milkus is brilliant and, like, does a lot of really good stuff, like... that amount of pressure will make you go crazy if you're not ready and you don't have baby steps to sort of step into that.
I think that's a pretty good point. I mean, I definitely actually agree with a lot of what IdrA said about kind of his perspective on the Korea versus Western stuff. But I think what I want to end with is a very important like combination of those two. Milkus was famous for his labor, and he worked hard, and he had a passion for it. I don't think anybody would deny that. He said some dumb stuff, but at the same time, he was enjoying like an immediate celeb situation where his dumb stuff that gets said puts on blast, right? And then there's people all over the internet that are going to give him hate for that. I could say with a pretty firm grasp of the opinion that I was in that same situation actually in the early NASL situation or tournament. So I know what it's like to be like, oh wow, a lot of people are listening, something stupid, and then everyone's like, you fucking idiot, and you're like, I quit. That's I wanted to quit at the time, but
I don't know if it's really fair to cut him slack because he went out and made a thread on Reddit about something incredibly inflammatory. He's either retarded or he knew what was coming. I don't think he deserves special.
Yeah, if you're referring to the situation with whatever we're looking for a restream or whatever, that's way different. Like I mean, like there's like being put under a microscope and then going out and making like public forum posts are two entirely different things. I think that's why it's really hard to feel sympathy for somebody that would take that kind of a reaction to that.
Fair enough. Actually, that's a good point. Anybody else got any final words? I think that's pretty much it for that situation, right? The Milky's thing.
I hope he keeps doing his shit because he's awesome.
Yeah.
This is totally kind of related. So what happens to Marine King Prime? I know that this was like the driving force to getting him off to the last MLG. He's got he's like seated in the Providence, isn't he?
He shouldn't be in group play. He only got like 6th at 1, so he would be in open bracket if he went. I don't know what will happen.
Oh, okay. All right.
We'll see. I think Milkus is kind of heading the charge on sponsoring him in future events. So whether or not someone else picks up the slack or Milkus comes back and does that, we'll see. But we're going to go on to the next subject. It's going to be tournaments paying out. That huge fiasco. But before we do, we're going to run a quick commercial break. So everybody tune in. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about why some tournaments need to be told they're dumb. Be right back. Okay, so welcome back, guys. The next subject we're going to talk about is this, well, people are calling it the Cloud thread, but basically the gist of it is there was a thread on Team Liquid. Cloud, what team is that guy on right now? Is he still on?
ATN, man.
Oh, he's on Alternate Attack now? Okay, so he's on ATN, same team as Dark Force, and I believe Stock on there.
Yeah.
I get like locked up in details. It actually doesn't matter what team he's on, but I'm just down that road. Anyways, it's Cloud, Italian player. He's been to a lot of international events. He made a thread on Team Liquid, so I don't know if JP from production can actually pull it up right now for the screen, or you guys can be the sleuths that you are and go to Team Liquid and look for a thread called StarCraft 2 Prize Money, I think it's called. Am I mistaken on that? Prize Money in StarCraft 2, and his name is ATN Cloud, so you can read that. But that's the context for what we're going to talk about. But basically, there's some tournaments that are extremely late on paying their players, and I'm not talking like 4 or 5 weeks or a month or two. I'm talking as much as like a year sometimes or half a year, but just insanely long periods of time. And then there's other tournaments that just straight up haven't paid. And I'm going to be really interested to go across the board on this and see everyone's opinion. Let's go to Tyler first. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Tyler. I actually haven't talked to you about it on this level, but I mean, what are your thoughts on the situation?
I can't recall any time it's happened to me, but I've heard stories. I mean, ever since Brood War, in fact, we didn't have many tournaments back then, but this still happened. So it hasn't happened to me, but I think what it comes down to, and this is what Sir Scoot said, I think the standard he wanted to set was 30 days of the max, and I agree with that. I first said 2 to 4 weeks. 4 weeks, or just make it a month. That sounds fine. Just pay someone within a month. And he also, I'm just gonna copy Sir Scoots this whole time. He also said, have part of your registration for the tournament the necessary paperwork to get yourself paid. So you already have your paperwork done, and so that's not an issue after the tournament. And it should be easy to do. And then it's just a matter of, are these organizations actually getting the money to pay their players at the time of the tournament, or are they scrambling to get it like 6 months later, which is what I feel like might be happening here.
Yeah.
Well, what a lot of events do is they have it rolling, like they pay for the previous prize money with the sponsorship that they obtain for the next round of tournaments. So they're just constantly looping, and it's really unstable.
Do you know who's doing that? Do you know any terms that are doing that?
I know ESWC used to. That was the previous ESWC before they went bankrupt, and someone bought the name. So,
wow, they went bankrupt. That's weird. Oh.
Yeah, imagine that. Off that business model.
With that business model, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
ESL might do that. I'm not sure. I shouldn't say that because ESL always pays really, really late, but at least for me, they have always paid eventually. So I feel kind of bad talking to them. But yeah, sometimes they're just over a year late, and they have a reputation for being really late. They're probably the worst of the legitimate offenders. Like, they're a tournament that you should go to, you should participate in because they are real, but they're always terribly late. And you have to ride them about it. If you don't bug them, you don't get your money.
And to me, that's the biggest issue. Like, what all tournaments unanimously say, and you can read that thread, there's some good examples. Greg, can you mute your microphone real quick? Is they constantly say, well, it takes so long to get the money to the players. You actually have no idea because you're just a lowly, player or observer. You're not an actual league admin. You don't know the financial situation we're in. But I don't think that that's acceptable, and I think that's got to be the underlying message for people in this community. I mean, if we're going to talk about tournaments that aren't doing well, so some of the ones that get brought up are ESWC, ESL takes a long time to pay, and I'm more than welcome to hear any tweets from those organizations if they want to retaliate, or respond. I would love to bring them on and talk about that here. But at the same time, let's talk about the leagues that do pay off. MLG, I've gotten my money the tournament of or the one after. Like, they're doing a really good job of that. WCG in the past did a pretty okay job. That was a while ago, though. I mean, and I know that IPL has actually done a pretty good job. I think Greg has said that. And I mean, anybody else? What tournaments are doing okay?
All of the Team Liquid stuff is prompt, as far as I know. They're very proactive about getting you paid. It's usually the player's fault when they're late.
Blizzard events are usually prompt, too.
Yeah. I mean, I can only speak from someone who worked there perspective. MLG particularly always impresses me because, they aggressively make sure you're paid the day of.
Yeah.
Look and be like, hey, get over here. Take this money.
Take your money.
Seriously.
No, they actually run you down and give you checks. It's really cool.
Yeah, and if you're not there, they'll contact you as though you don't have a plane ticket and you're going to show up to the airport and be fucked the whole week. They're oh my God, you're not going to get paid, right? And I actually think it's reasonable to say like 60 to 90 days for payment. I don't think it's great, but I think that's reasonable. But I think the fact that anyone can't get paid within that amount of time is absolutely appalling. The one thing that you never fuck around with, period, in a company is paying people, paying your employees. You don't do that, like,
Yes.
ever. That is shocking to me that anyone would take that long to actually just make a payment. And because, I mean, it's one of those things that actually, you know, I've been reading, you know, like business literature, you know, about just how business deals would interact. And a lot of people will do that, like, no, just please go ahead and do the work for us, and we'll make sure to pay you the money. And there's a lot of stories of people who go ahead and do the work, and then it's hard to get the money afterwards because the other company gets busy, blah, blah, blah. And there comes a point where you have to go, no, we're actually not working at all until you get the money. You're like, no, look, we'll have it. We need it.
Yep.
It's like, you haven't paid us. We actually can't proceed. We're going to go do other things now. And mysteriously, the money always shows up.
Yep.
And what I really hate is the idea that a post like this from Cloud would happen, and a tournament organization would go, oh my God, oh crap, oh no, quickly, pay him money. I mean, I have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, but because, I mean, they're obviously probably not going, well, this is fantastic. More press for us, you know? I mean, there's probably some scramble to get the money out there, and I feel like it should be a scramble the day after the tournament happens. Anytime someone's not getting paid, I just think it is a real shock, because then it's so difficult for us to be like, yeah, StarCraft 2 is legit, you know? Like, what do we have, like a couple million in prize pool this year? What if only 1 million had been paid out? Suddenly all the statements that we've been making, they're just not real. If a tournament says, we have a $50,000 prize pool, you can't afford to have the players go, do you really have a $50,000 prize pool? That's so dangerous. That's like, again, the number one most important thing of any business relationship is making sure people get paid for the work that they do, period. And I just think that anything else is unacceptable.
And it's a sad but proven fact. If you're not getting money, so any players out there listening or spread the word, unfortunately, one of the best ways to get your money is to actually publicly out that league, is to go ahead and say, hey, the such and such league is actually behind by 4 months. And it's surprising, as Day9 said, how often it comes back to you. Also, people in the community spread the word on the leagues that are doing a good job, but then spread the word on the leagues that are doing a bad job. If our community binds together and like literally punishes the leagues that don't do this, it will reform. It's just basic business, right? If people start to actually punish leagues for bad practice, they'll clean up their act or they'll die, and that's actually got to be the way it goes. Steven, do you have any? I mean, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
I mean, pretty much what's been said. I mean, the money needs to be paid out immediately. What Greg was talking about earlier, that kind of sounds like a Ponzi scheme. Like, we're going to promise this money, and then after the tournament goes really well, like, you scramble to find sponsors, and then the sponsors are, like, paying for your next event and covering, like, the last one. Like, that sounds really shady to me.
Well, that's kind of why they went bankrupt, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
I mean, and I wish I could say it was just ESWC's previous ownership. I mean, not to throw them under the bus. Well, I guess let's go ahead and throw them right under the bus. WCG. I don't know if people have been reading those threads, but it's been like revealed on a tier, like, finals are online. You send yourself to the finals. How about you pay the $1,500 entry fee into the finals?
That you got invited to?
No, that you qualified for. It's
Oh,
even
yeah.
I mean, these guys are working their ass off for something that used to be the Olympics for esports for us. It was everything, and now it's like, it's a joke. We will have 0 USA players at the WCG World Finals. I'm pretty sure of it. I mean, who's going to pay $1,500 for their player and travel them to a tournament? There's no other tournament that does that. MLG is in second place with a $70 ticket, to give you an idea. That's how bad that situation is. So, I mean, spread the word on the good, spread the word on the bad, and publicly out them. So, I mean, check out that thread, join in on the fun, and I guarantee you in 2012, we will have a better future for those, for that situation. Anybody else got any thoughts on this?
As for the public outing thing, no one else has complained about them, so I'm wondering if it's just me, but Twitch TV has actually been pretty terrible for me. We went through like a 5-6 month period where they just didn't pay me at all, and they said there were difficulties with my address and sending the check and all that, but they finally gotten a check through to me, but it was only for like a quarter of what they owe, and this is thousands of dollars. It's like incredibly significant. and I've just now gotten it for a quarter, and it doesn't line up with anything they should pay me, and they're still months behind. So I would just like to. I'm getting kind of upset at them.
There you go.
Wanted to publicly out them. So,
And I'll tell you what, I love Twitch. They've done a great job on this. They're not doing a good job. Now that Greg said that, count the days. Count the days. Anybody else? Nothing?
Oh, well, JP said in chat, just a reminder that
Oh, right.
this has been going on for like a decade. Like, this precedes like everything that we're doing. Like, this has been in esports all the time. And JP said in chat, pretty much every year this just resurfaces, people complaining about it. I think maybe StarCraft 2, and I mean StarCraft 1, has always had kind of a more mature community. I don't want to like put the other games down, but that's just, I think, what a lot of people observe.
It's the only community with mature people, actually.
Yeah, so I think maybe we can be the ones to like straighten some shit out, or at least get our stuff sorted for the leagues we participate in. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I bet we could do it.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next subject. We have the new GSL format, and this is where we'd normally throw to Artosis for him to explain that he doesn't actually understand or know the format. And then we all laugh. So Sean, please, if you will.
I have no idea what the new format is.
I
My basic understanding of it is that there are fewer people who remain in Code S, and that the up and down matches in GSL Code A have a little bit more weight in terms of bringing new people in, which I think is exactly what needs to happen. Because again, everyone's like, Terran dominate GSL, Terran to Imba. No, when there's 16 players in the league and only 6 can get booted, and you have some pretty damn good Terrans, it's hard to have any change. So now that there's 24 Terrans in there, it's like literally for probably 6 months there would be at least 16 Terrans in the tournament. So they had to do a reform. So in my eyes, I feel like it's a better format for the racial distribution. It's a better format to encourage the players who are in Code S to keep practicing, because you can clearly see there are some players in Code S who are like, I'm probably going to be in Code S next season. I'll take it easy. And then Code A, you see cutthroat, vicious ballers doing incredible things, getting knocked out on their way to win $1,500 in first place prize money. You know, like that's kind of like...
Yeah, I do agree.
I mean, substantially. Jesus, I made a complete mess when I did the... Actually, I have to get a paper towel.
You've got the lips for that
remarkable.
sound,
Please.
Sean. Now, I think one thing that's kind of funny is I know that Huck's opinion on this is he's not for it. And I think I would venture a guess that any Code S player right now is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't like that as much no more, you know. And I think everybody outside of Code S, including all the people that are watching, I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to find someone that's like, we're going to get new players in Code S? That's absolutely outlandish. I mean, what do you think, Greg? You're a guy who's heading over to Korea fairly soon. We're going to talk about that. And you could be competing in Code S. What do you think about this new format? Oh, you're still muted. I'm sorry.
I think we're all missing out on the most important part of this. I get placed straight into up and down matches with the new format, so I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
But no, like Dana said, more dynamic leagues, it's great. You saw people hanging around who just didn't deserve to be there very clearly for a long time. And it's getting better, slowly, but this process will just speed that up. You really have to earn your spot, and I mean, it's the best league in the world. It should be that way. It should be the very best right now, not as we get there. So, yeah, I think it's undeniably good.
And I think the severity of it's really good, too. Like, you can actually go in one night from a Code S player to a Code B, if I understand correctly, right? Like, you can...
I think it's very bottom of Code A. Like, you have to work your way all the way up. And then, like, go different levels in Code A and something like that.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit off. You can go to the bottom of Code A, and then if you lose those games, you're in Code B. So it's like... It's a two-step to Code B as opposed to, I think it used to be like a 3 or 4-step. Which is pretty severe. So, I mean, Steven, do you follow GSL at all? Do you know anything about this format, or?
Just a little bit. I mean, I've heard complaints that, like, are you getting insane matches, like, early on in Code A, and that even in Code B there are crazy players, and that once you're in Code S, it's impossible to drop out. So, I mean, anything that would encourage, I guess, people in Code S to continue to play and continue to practice is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think this one's pretty damn straightforward. I think we're all going to be like, it's good. People are going to move around more, and it's going to make GSL more exciting.
Just curious, you said Huck was against it. Was he just saying that kind of jokingly, or did he have, like, any legitimate arguments?
Well, I mean, the actual tweet that I'm going off, is him saying that he has talked to several other Code S players, and they're all not really for it.
Well, anyone who's already Code S is obviously not going to like it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He didn't make any groundbreaking argument though. If that's your question. Like he was just kind of like, I want to be here forever.
Even though I like the format, I'll play devil's advocate for a moment.
Yeah.
I think that this is the first step in the right direction, but at the same time, I think that another step still needs to be elongating tournaments. I still don't like how much of a mad dash GSL is, and a mad dash a lot of other tournaments are. Because I'm thinking back to the original OGN Star League that kicked ass, where it was 3 months for 16 players. You got to see every game. There was tension built up to every match, and in particular, from the player's perspective, you got to practice for every match. You'd be like, on Friday next week, I'm playing the best Terran player in the world. What strategy am I going to work on? So I think from the Code's point of view, it does make sense to say something like, well, what the hell? I spend a full week practicing for each one of my matches. And if I have to do that with this added, up and down match where I might have a chance to get bumped down, I'm having to play for way too much here. So I can understand that. And I feel like, regardless, this is can only be considered a good move. I mean, it's a little unfortunate that you might have to practice a little bit more. But I mean, from the format of the tournament, like it has to be better, because having only 6 players knocked out of Codes is just that's raffle-worthy. I don't know. I like the way that the new format looks. I have glanced through it. I don't know the ultra specifics of it, but I'm in.
I think it's comparing it to MSL and OGN. It's not even as extreme as they were. I think it's obviously a step toward their format of a little more. You have more to lose, but I think it's still a little more. The main league is easier to stay in. Like, I think you had to get top 3 in OSL to stay in the Star League, something like that. It was very few people, I think, that actually got a direct seed into the next season's Star League, and most of the people in the Star League had to go down to whatever it was called, their equivalent of Code. Yeah, the dual tournament.
Yeah,
so I mean, you always had people. It was a big deal to be in the Star League every single time. Yep. Just qualifying every single time, you're like, oh, this guy qualified this time. He's really good now. And every single player that qualified, you'd be like, oh, these are our best players right now. There will be a few flukes in there, whatever, but that was the gist of it, and that's not the case with GSL right now. Even with this new format, I don't think it will be.
Fuck it. I'm going to tell everyone exactly how the OGN Star League worked, because this format was brilliant. All right, so there was the offline qualifiers. Anyone could sign up to play, and that would get 24 players who would be put into what was called a challenge league. They'd be put into a bunch of groups, and then you'd have 12 players, the top 2 in each group, advancing on. There was the next tournament called the so the challenge league, the top 12 advanced to what's called the dual tournament. Now I'm going to skip over the dual tournament for a moment. In the main Star League, there were 16 players. That's it, 16 players. The number 3 spots would be seeded into the next Star League. That's it. So then you'd have these 13 players drop back to the dual tournament. You'd have 12 players come up to the Challenge League, and now you're saying, well, this seems weird. They have 25 players. Well, one person from the Challenge League, all the first-place players would play against each other. The number 1 person from the Challenge League would get the direct seed into the next Star League. And kind of like Tyler was saying, everyone who was in the Star League was a big deal. So the person who came from the Challenge League, the number 1 winner of the Challenge League, that was like a huge mini storyline. Like, oh my gosh, like C Shield, he got into the Star League that way. Anytime got into the Star League that way. So then you have the 12 people, or the 11 people from the Challenge League, the 13 people from the main tournament, and then you have like 24 people in this sort of middle realm, and that's where you either dropped back off to the offline qualifiers, or you advanced on next to the big Star League. So the dual tournament was like this really scary, tenuous period. The groups were small. It was 4 people in a group, 2 people advance. But those matches were so freaking important. It wasn't as much of this weird, you can step back once and then step back again, and now you're kind of out. Literally, it's like you're in the Star League, and if you lose once, you're on the risk of being sent all the way back to the offline qualifiers. Yeah, and I see people talking about C versus Nalra. Yeah, goddamn, that game was good. Oh my god, the one on a rush hour when Nalra lost C Shield lost over 100 SCVs to Storm Drops and won anyways.
That was the coming out of C2. That was his first
Yeah.
league, I think. And he went on 3-0 his group, and he just lost because the filers were stupid.
Oh, Greg. Greg's multitasking bitching about games is unparalleled.
Howard.
He's like he plays fucking Zerg like I mean, I think we're all going to rant and rave about it. Let's just go ahead and say Danon made the point, and it's, I think, what we would all reiterate and echo, and that is that it used to be a huge deal when players were brought into the Star Leagues, and it was really cool. Now it's like the same guys over and over again. So I think this is a step in the right direction, but like Dan said, let's go ahead and take it the next step. Hopefully that's in the cards. But let's go ahead and, JP, do we have time to move to the next subject, or are we going to run a commercial? We're going to do the next subject. So it's going to be GSL Code S Round 32. This could be very brief. Did anybody watch those matches?
The ones last night?
Yeah.
I saw all the ones with Nesty and
Harrison
Lucero.
saw 'em.
Harrison did.
Okay.
Load
Yeah, we
them
watched.
up.
Anybody watch them?
I did not.
I did. I saw the second group.
What's
I did not
Halloween,
see the-
man? What?
I didn't see the first group. I think it's going to be across the board. But, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched these, duck and cover right now. I'm going to give you like 5 seconds. And MMA dominated, and MC actually took second, going ahead and defeating Ryung, which is actually pretty sick. So MC in the round of 16, LOL, goes from Code B to kicking the shit out of an MLG, and all of a sudden he's one of the top dogs in Code S. That's pretty awesome. And then Group B, Nesty, and, well, again, 5 seconds, spoiler alert. Uh-oh. Oh no, cover your ears. SC takes the group, and then Nesty took second with Lucira and ASD not making it out of there. So, any surprises, any matches you guys want to talk about? Anything at all discussed there?
In the games I saw, nothing was all that surprising. Nesty... well, actually, Nesty Lucero was kind of interesting because I really think ZVZ is going to tend towards mutas, and that kind of just demonstrated why. Lucero tried roach timing and you just utterly got dominated. And if you let them get up to mute, and Nesty wasn't even trying to stop. He only had 3 spine crawlers. If you're counting on a roach timing, you put up 6 or more, and he still held it off just fine. And if you get up to mutas and you're both in pretty equal positioning, the muta player has a big advantage. So I think that Nesty's been going towards mutas for a long time. A lot of Zergs are still sticking to roaches, but I think we're headed that way. And other than that, nothing too surprising. SC's game versus Nesty was it was just 2 war Banshee cheese, and it was really frustrating to watch. And didn't get too much from it.
Have you
I'm
been
watching it right
experimenting
now.
with mutas at all, Destiny, or do you stick to the roach-based CVZ and Infestor?
I'm not a good person to talk to for CVZ.
Damn it, Destiny! I'm trying to give you a bone here.
I don't know. I mean, it really depends on the caliber of the players when it comes to ZVZing with mutas. Like, mutas are one of those things where a lot of players will try to pull it off, but, like, you have to be really smart on how you use them. Some players will just, like, 2-base and, like, mass muta, and it's just really dumb. I mean, everything, when you're going mutas to CVZ, it seems like everything has a really specific purpose. Like, you're going mutas to secure more expansions, to work towards higher tech and everything. So, I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Well, we can talk a little bit about like the mutas and the matchup. Like,
Yeah,
I
Sean, it's the secret strategy discussion, by the way, so this is your moment to shine.
Yeah. Let me step in. I got the hands in the appropriate position, gentlemen. Let me tell you about fucking mutalisks. So, like, the reason Zerg vs. Zerg is just, like, generally considered dumb, especially, like, 3 months ago and on backwards, is that Zerglings, Banelings, and Roaches in that matchup are so good. Zerglings effectively can teleport to your base instantly at any point in time with the creep and the speed upgrade. Banelings can kill infinity at Zerglings, drones, whatever, just like with one of them. And Roaches don't actually die under any circumstance. So, like, I think Sen highlighted it best, where you have to build the units for defense. And in every other matchup, if you overbuild defense, you go, oh, God, and he didn't attack. Damn it, I wasted money. But in Zerg vs. Zerg, you just take all your units and you go attack and win. And that's how the Roachling timing pushes, just knowing when to do that, was very subtle, but you could be ridiculously effective with that. And now all of a sudden what players are starting to realize is that they can actually power drones more so and rely on the spine crawlers a little more and rely on the Banelings a little more. But then the next question is, well, what the hell advantage do you get out of that? And players are now just building a layer and then powering drones and then being willing to build spine crawlers and other sorts of defenses while being pretty careful. And the Mutalisks, the big thing that I think makes them really exciting, is that to hold off a lot of those early Ling, Roach, Baneling, all that shenanigans, you have to have immaculate Overlord positioning throughout the center of the map and against all counterattack angles. And when you get the Mutalisks out, you have a ton of free Overlords. And even if you only get 3 or 4 or so, which shouldn't be that difficult to do, you have a complete and total lockdown on map control, which is actually pretty unusual given the past Zerg vs. Zerg styles. In general, well, I guess not map control, but map vision. In general, players had a pretty good comfort getting vision of what they needed to at certain points in time in the matchup. And, okay, great, so now my opponent doesn't have vision, and I have these Mutalisks. What do I do next? Well, that's what players are finally starting to answer. What players used to do is they'd kill off the Overlords, and then, well, he got a bunch of Roach Hydra, and that loses in a direct engagement. Yeah. So there's a lot more clever use of counterattacking. And I think that just Mutalisk is not nearly as good as like Mutalisk used in conjunction with like some other really fast ground unit, whether it be Roach counterattacks or Zerglin counterattacks or what have you.
Yeah, and I know I've been seeing a lot of mutas. I know Greg's starting to work on that, but I think he's being quiet because he wants it to be a secret or something like that.
No, I didn't know I was expecting. No, I'm the one who brought the topic up.
I didn't know I was supposed to talk about Zerg versus Zerg.
Well, I was kind of letting Sean just go ahead because he was doing such a good job. No, I've used mutas a lot in the past, including in like broadcasted matches and stuff. No, what he says is pretty accurate. People are starting to figure out the timings where you have to switch to infestors or head towards hive tech or get your speed banes up. Mutiling speed bane is actually, I think that's the big part of the reason where it's now getting even better is because infestors no longer one-shot banelings or banelings. And so now mutiling baneling can counter Roach Hydra Infestor much better than it could before. And that kind of mobility and the map control and stuff is just a huge advantage for anyone who has good multitasking. So personally, I like it a lot. I think it's making the matchup better.
Yeah, the Infestor damage nerf, that's actually really huge. What Greg just said about being able to fungal banelings, like banelings used to die instantly. If you fungled a huge group of banelings, like they were gone, but now they'll actually survive through a whole fungal. That's pretty significant when you're fighting that kind of style.
They have like 1 health or something though, right?
Yeah, well they'll always survive regardless of when.
It still matters a lot. Like it makes a big difference. It might seem like it doesn't, but it does.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. All right, so we're going to go to a commercial real quick, and then when we get back, we're going to be talking about, as I delay, we're going to talk about Brood War pros practicing StarCraft 2, and then we'll have time for IdrA in GSL as well as the Muslim, and then we're going to talk to IdrA about the new units in the Heartless Swarm. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Shit, we're back. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I don't know if we were able to fix Tyler's webcam or not, because we have a little bit of a stream delay going on, so I assume it is fixed. JP just gave me the update. That's awesome. Welcome back, Tyler.
Thank you.
People were worried that you weren't blinking there for a long period of time. He's fine. Okay, let's just quickly go into the Brood War pros practicing. It's been revealed. It was like, I think Slasher was hoping that people would shit their pants and start throwing their babies on stones, and like it would be this like, oh my god, Armageddon thing. But I think we all just kind of expected this to happen and knew it on some level, because I didn't feel the earth move below my feet when this was announced. But Bisu's playing, Flash, Jadong, they're all training StarCraft 2 on some level. And there's whisperings that Kespa's going to make the big switch next season. So, I mean, what are your guys' initial thoughts? Let's go to Sean, as Destiny would call you, a nostalgia fag. Go ahead.
I'm really excited. Wait, which one?
Well, that's what you would call Sean. But I was going to go.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
We'll get back to you, though. We'll go to
Pointing
you.
to me as the nostalgia fag.
Sean?
It's both kick-ass and it hurts.
Oh,
you know,
Death of
that's
Brood.
like, yeah, that's when you hear something, you know, where that's like if you were a fan of Kiss and then you heard they were coming out with a dubstep album and you're like, all right, I mean, I guess that's in. All right. Okay.
Finally, they'll play good music.
Zingo dingo. But yeah, like, I'm pumped as shit. I mean, being able to go to an MLG and like go up to Bisu and actually be unable to speak. Like that, I can't wait to do that again, because I did that with a boxer. But at the same time, it's one of those things that kind of makes me sigh a little bit, because like basketball and soccer and football can all kind of can coexist peacefully in the sports space. And I just wish that esports was developed enough to where there's this really old game, Brood War, that wasn't considered outdated in any regard. It was just another thing that could exist along in parallel. So that, I guess, makes me feel a little bit sigh-ful. But that said, I really hope that they start bringing some sick innovation to the game. I really hope, because they're real brilliant. Yeah.
Beast dumb, but the rest are pretty smart.
He actually got smarter.
Obviously.
He got smarter after we quit. He went on, like, he had a fucking 85% win or something
damn it,
for,
Greg,
like, after we quit.
You just earned me like 55 PMs in a thread on Reddit. I'm not actually being serious. They're all extremely smart.
Oh,
Too late. It's too late.
No, he was like pure multitasking. He was retarded for a long time, or he would have won a few more Star Leagues.
Well, the difference, Greg, is that you can say that, and I can't. I will,
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, they expect you to say that. Let's go ahead. Steven, what are your thoughts? I mean, I don't think you were too big up on the Brood War community, but what does this mean for you? And maybe you were, by the way. I don't want to speak for you.
Oh, no, I mean, I followed it casually, but, I mean, the guys, I mean, without trying to sound like too much of an asshole, and I guess without even trying to sound like Milkus, I mean, those guys were on another level. I mean, especially when you talk about Jadon Flash, people like Savior. I think it would just be really interesting to see those kinds of players, I guess, take their mechanical ability, come over to this game, and especially with a new slate, too. Like, all of the things that we know to be true, they don't necessarily know, so it'll be interesting to see them, you know, kind of play and practice.
Yeah.
I guess my parallel, actually, I'm a little lucky, and I'm sure some of you have experienced this too, but I got to practice against Major when he first came over to StarCraft 2. Well, not like the first person to play with him, but I got to play with him when he was still relatively new to the game. Like, he didn't know what creep spread or any of that was. And it was just really neat playing against somebody who could execute really well mechanically, but didn't have any of, like, the preconceived biases or notions about, like, you have to, you know, 2 racks is 11-11 or 12-14. Like, it has to be one of those, you know. He didn't have all those ideas in his head. So it was weird kind of seeing him do different builds and kind of try new stuff, you know.
Yeah. That is actually an interesting point. I mean, Tyler, what are your thoughts? I know that you actually had opportunity to play in Korea with a lot of these guys, and now they're coming over.
All right, so with that unique experience, maybe Greg can chime in here too. I'm going to be, aside from the superstars, like the really, really good StarCraft 1 players, the S-class players, there's a bunch of people, pro gamers, you know, playing televised games and stuff, they aren't actually that good. That they like don't come up with anything by themselves. They just practice a ton, and they have great mechanics, and they like accidentally learn things, and they're just not that impressive. So I'm actually not scared of a lot of these people coming over. But I am scared of, obviously the trio of Jaedong, Bisu, Flash. But I think people should keep faith in the foreigners. There's definitely going to be a lot of talent coming in once they've all switched and they're all full-time, so they're going to take over somewhat. But I think we can still maintain and hold our ground because I really don't think that there are going to be a ton of talented, brilliant players that can just come to StarCraft 2 and be better than everyone else. There's only going to be a handful, in my opinion.
Well, let's put a new spin on this too, because this is another concern that people are talking about. These players are controlled by Kespa for the most part, right? And when they come over, or they already kind of are coming over to StarCraft 2, the assumption is, on some level, they will still be affiliated with Kespa. Is this a power grab from Kespa? Is this them realizing the money in the future is in StarCraft 2, and in order for them to have a place there, they need to grab the mega talent and kind of use them as the carrot? I mean, what do you guys think?
As far as I know, GOM still has exclusive rights to StarCraft 2 broadcasts in Korea, so I imagine there has to be some cooperation there.
No, they do. I mean, and also Blizzard can like they can just throw it down and say there's no way in hell you're gonna have your own StarCraft. They can't do what they did with Brood War. But my point is, like, could they use this on the negotiation board as a way for them to get things that in the past they wouldn't have? I mean, with these players coming over, I think people are more inclined to listen to them, right?
Oh yeah, it certainly gives them leverage. I think they're when it comes right down to it, Blizzard's the one that controls everything if they want to, and they have decided that GOM is their horse for now. So I don't think Kespa's going to be able to throw their weight around too much. But yeah, in Korea particularly, Flash and Jaedong and stuff, StarCraft 2 isn't dominating there yet. You really need those big star names. That'll pull the people over. I don't know. We're kind of just going to have to see what happens. I can't predict what's going to happen with that.
Anybody else? No?
I can't wait for the drama, man.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to see what happens.
Can't wait for the drama. I love that
You
drama.
and everybody else, yeah.
Who
Especially
goes to
with
which
Kespa.
team?
Yeah. Well, they're all signed to EG already, but we'll...
Oh, yeah?
yeah.
Just hasn't been announced yet.
That's our next announcement.
You can expect a really bad viral marketing scheme that'll go ahead and like mislead everyone, then be like, ta-da! They're on our team.
You need to get the S-class players like doing chores in your house so that they can work their way up the ladder. I think that would just...
I do, yeah.
I would
think
love that.
A YouTube video of Jaedong cleaning our pool would probably get somewhere in the realm of 1 or 2 million views.
Or maybe Bisu helping Anna plug in the monitor or whatever she's been messing with for the past.
Bisu helping plug in the computer too. Okay, let's go to the next subject real quick. We got IdrA and Muslim going to GSL. In case people didn't know, they're going to go compete in Code A. But as Greg said, I mean, they're in the up and down matches. They actually get a spot going into Code S potentially. So Muslim got his taking 14th in MLG Raleigh. It was the one before this one, right? There was people eligible in front of him, but they all passed on the opportunity. And then Greg taking 4th place in this previous MLG allows him that spot because he was the highest non-Code S, non-Korean, I believe, is how that works. So, I mean, Greg, tell everybody, are you excited about it? What are your plans? What are you thinking about it?
Oh, honestly, GSL is kind of secondary. I'm going back to Korea because I want the best practice again. I really want to refocus on just being as good as I possibly can. That being said, obviously it's a great opportunity. I really want to be back in Code S. I'll be playing GSL whenever I'm in Korea. It's just, why wouldn't you while you're there? It is the biggest league in the world. It is the most prestigious, and really that's what everyone goes for on some level. So I'm really, really happy to get that spot. I'm gonna go in there a lot closer to Code S now, so that just makes everything cooler. But I was already planning on going into Code A and earning my way up. So that's not a huge difference to me. Just happy for the opportunity.
Straight to the point. And again, I mean, DeMuslim's not here, obviously, but he's thrilled about the opportunity. It's big. I mean, Korea is still the mecca. It's still the place you go to prove yourself in StarCraft. Whether it's, I mean, people have talked about how a lot of the money's outside of Korean stuff. That's kind of a mood issue as far as I think a lot of people are concerned. It's still the place to go. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. This is labeled IdrA on the new HOTS units, but actually, we haven't heard Mr. Sean Plott's opinions on them either, so I think this will be a nice situation for good cop, bad cop. Sean's going to tell us why every unit is really good, and Greg's going to poo-poo on everything. So, Sean, let's go through the Zerg units, okay? Okay, Jeff.
All right, okay. Now my opinion is not going to be that anything is good. It's going to be that things are fucking sweet or not so sweet. Because that
Not
is
as
literally
sweet.
about my experience. Because it's marginally
Fucking
kick-ass,
awesome?
yeah.
Just kind of not as fucking awesome, but still fucking awesome. All right, Swarm
Yeah,
Lord.
I don't-
What do you think?
Swarm Host? Or is it Swarm Lord? Did they change the name?
It's the Lord
Swarm
to
Host?
me, but I think they called it Host. I mean, I got to talk to Dusty about it. The whole name thing's still being worked out.
I mean, it continues on the theme of, like, Zerg can do a lot more shit while burrowed. Ultralists can charge while burrowed. Banelings can move while burrowed, and then you have a Swarm Host that can...
Sean, whoa. Let's
All
keep
right.
it on point here, buddy. We'll go through all of them. Good cop, bad
All
cop.
right.
Swarm Host.
I give it a 6 out of 10. I mean, it's cool that it attacks while burrowed, but it's no lurker.
That's true.
I don't think it's really meant to be a lurker. Like the one competent thing I heard Blizzard say in all of the BlizzCon footage that I have seen was Dustin saying that it now allowed Zerg, who has a massive advantage, to actually force something to happen. Because that's the situation you get in a lot versus Terran and Protoss. It's like you have 4 bases and 50 supply lead, but they sit there behind cannons and force fields or tanks and bunkers, and you can't really force the issue until you have Broodlords. So now you just sit there sending locusts at them until they kind of have to respond to it. And that's a pretty big asset for Zerg. Also, just breaking siege lines and stuff, just because it's essentially unlimited range. So that could actually be pretty big. I'm not sure about the strength of the unit itself. Obviously, that's something that comes from playtesting. But locusts have pretty decent stats. The respawn time, like, they only come every 15 seconds or something, so that's a bit of a limiting factor. I think it's a pretty cool unit. I think it does fill a role that the Zerg was pretty sorely lacking before the Broodlord. And Broodlords are really slow, so they're annoying to use at times.
I mean, Sean, you had mentioned the spells, Banelings moving below the ground,
Yeah.
Ultras charging. It's got a stun ability, I think, in
Word.
that too, a little bit. What do you think of those?
Fucking kick-ass burrowed Banelings moving? Come on! That's unbelievable, man. Oh, God, that's so great. Why don't you go put cannons next to your fucking expansions before I walk in there anyways with my burrowed Banelings? That is the sweetest shit I have ever heard in my life. Like, that is awesome. I like no
Are you
other way to
serious?
say that. Yeah, let me finish.
Sean.
Let me finish. Okay, let me finish. Let's throw balance out the window for a moment, because no one can comment on the fucking balance of this shit, right? No one's played with it at all, right? People used to talk about how the Roach was imbalanced, huh? Zerg buddies, Roaches are just too good still, right? Yeah, you can't talk about balance yet. That's what I'm saying. All right, so here we go.
Well, to be fair, that was
Here's-
back when they were 2 armor and
One supply.
Look,
yeah,
none
yeah.
of that.
We're a little too.
Fuck. Dustin.
Numbers schmumbers.
Continuing on with how fucking right I am, listen to me. All right, check it out. If you guys have watched the cinematics for StarCraft Brood or for StarCraft 2, what's Zerg about? Mass numbers and shit popping out of the ground and surprising you. Banelings do that now. Swarm hosts do that now. And that's it. And that's awesome. Right? We have some Zergy things. They're Zerging their way around the map under the ground. It's so, yes, it feels awesome. Zerg is becoming more narratively complete.
Okay.
I can't imagine them.
Back-
I can't imagine them
About-
making like moving Broad Baneling's balance anyway. It seems so good.
I feel like this, I mean, we've already talked about this, but go ahead, Greg.
I can't imagine it not breaking the game. I mean, it's really cool. I like it, but it's going to be really strong.
Yeah, I can't wait to ZBZ you and White Raw, and I'll have some really good matches with Tyler and Zerg versus Zerg. It'll be sick. So that's the spells for Zerg. We also have a couple of or actually just one of the unit, the Viper. They had to drop the Dodge because of sponsorship issues. But Sean, what do you think about the tongue-licking, fart-clouding, flying defiler that is known as the Viper?
I love the ocular implant, just where it's like this unit detects. Just because you know there's going to be one pro match where a guy's forced to give his Zergling detection, and he has to like run away from the Dark Templar with the detector ling, and that's just going to be cool. But what was the other spell? Not the come here, grabby. But it's like called
The
like
Dark Swarm equivalent.
Disruption.
Dark Swarm Disruption Web, yeah.
Make everything melee or whatever.
yeah, everything's melee. Yeah, I'm sort of indifferent to that. I think it's one of those things that will take some exploration. I'm really torn on the come here, lick me grab.
Get over
Because yeah, like the quarter circle punch scorpion move, like
Yeah.
I don't like binariness. I don't like... That's a problem. Unless you get this unit, and then it's completely not a problem at all.
Yeah.
In general, I don't like that, and it feels like you have a Colossus, I'm fucked until I get 100 energy, and then you're fucked. I don't quite like that. At the same time, though, the fact that the cost of the Viper and like what it can do, I don't... I mean, a lot of people kind of said somewhat of a similar thing about Neural Parasite when it first came out, but now it's kind of been shifted around and readjusted. I don't know. I don't quite know how to feel.
Yeah. I was just going to say, my problem with it is that the Viper is necessary. It replaces the Overseer, so it's not like...
Yeah.
It's not like at any point in time you ever go, well, I guess I'm going to go Viper Tech. You're actually always going to go Viper Tech because you need to give the ocular implant to the unit so that they have detection. But it just so happens that now the Overseer happens to be a badass spellcaster instead of shitting little spies and pooping on buildings for periods of time that nobody ever did.
And that excites me, and the fact that the price is so high on the gas end makes me feel like you're probably not going to be in a situation where you're like, he's building 20 Colossi, let me get 20 Vipers. You know, that feels too much. Because, I mean, even Neural Parasite, like, disables a unit, and it makes it on your fucking side. But, even if you pull and grab a Colossus towards you, if you pull, like, 6 Colossus towards you, they can still, like, force field, and Colossus can walk over units. So, I don't know. This is why I'm, like, so unbelievably torn on it. I think it's going to be a lot cooler than my gut instinct tells me, though.
I think the detection, this whole new detection thing, is going to be really awkward. I'm not sure if it's going to be balanced. It's having to pay 200 gas and get a spellcaster in order to have detection on one unit, and that's it. I think you can only use it once per Viper. That seems really weird to me, and to not just have like a normal permanent detector like Observer, Raven, Overseer. Especially without scan to like back up, because Terrans don't use Ravens a lot, but they always have scan anyway. It seems like it could be really weird. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. And as for the spells, you have to see them in action. They could be really cool, like the concept could be there. But we've seen with Neural Parasite, they've had such trouble balancing. It's a cool idea, be able to mind control an enemy unit, but in order to actually get, like, they've gone from incredibly overpowered to now no one ever really gets it because it's just not good enough. And they haven't been able to find a happy balance anywhere in between. And I think, I don't know, we'll just have to see how they turn out. But the idea is there for the spells. They could be cool if they make them work right.
I think leave the Overseer and keep the Viper, and so that way there's actually like a risk to going Viper as opposed to, well, I need it anyways, might as well use it for other things. Now,
is the ocular implant a one-time thing? I thought it was 25 energy.
One time, from what I understand, per unit.
Yeah, it's one time.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Did you guys read that? I didn't remember seeing that it was only one time. I remember using it. I don't think it was 25 energy, though. It was more. It was like 50 or 75 or something.
But
That might be right, because
I never remember seeing it was only
a
one-time cast.
I feel like I did it multiple times when I was playing with one Viper.
I read on TL that it was one time, so I don't know how valid that is.
I have seen a lot of huge inaccuracies on those where there was like the original post said like 10 things about how a unit worked and like 6 of them were right.
Inaccuracies in a Team Liquid member post?
Sean, can you take your fucking like your lies and your blasphemy and just go away?
Well,
Don't actually go away.
I do have a bucket of chicken I need to finish, so maybe it turned out all
No,
right.
Sean! Anyway, next subject. So the Terran units, Sean, have you come to grips with the Shredder, and if so, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm kind of fine with the Shredder.
It's the lurker.
It's It's an example of something that StarCraft 2 lacked a good deal of needing space control. In StarCraft 2, terrain does not
Terran
really
did
matter.
not fucking need space control. Terran...
I do think of all races, Terran probably didn't... I mean, all of them needed some form of space control, I think, to make the game interesting. I think Terran, if I had to pick a one that needed it least, it would be Terran. But I think that it is a unit that kind of needs to be in the game. One of these things where you, like, plant it in a region, and you're like, this region's locked down. Something like Spider Mines or Lurkers or Dark Swarm, blah, 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 something like that. So I'm happy to see that it's in the game. I kind of have a feeling that the radius will be decreased.
Sean, can I quote you as saying that you're happy it's in the game, but they accidentally gave it to the wrong race?
Let me see how I want that taken.
I think it does fix the problem where sometimes,
I
like,
don't-
in ZVT,
I don't
sometimes
mind.
the Terran would have to build a planetary as a third instead of another orbital. That kind of sucks for Terran, so maybe it'll take care of that problem.
All right, Mr. Reddit. Greg, be the voice of reason for all that is right in the world, please.
Okay, look, Greg.
I agree
enough.
with the quote
Let me-
you
let me-
attributed
hold
to
on.
him.
Wait, hold on. I want to step in and say the one
Right.
thing that's making me hesitate to say, oh, they gave it to the wrong race, is like all the new units. Like considering how much burrow stuff is over on the Zerg side. I mean, like planting down some shredders and being like, got this area locked down. Zerg counterattacks, no go, and then like 4 burrow banelings move through there and kill stuff off. There's like so many of those, like the new unit interaction with the other new unit interaction, that kind of makes me like, I don't know. And shredders can only attack ground, right?
No, they can attack air,
No,
ground,
it's
and
yeah,
burrow.
it's 3D. No, they get
Okay.
burrowed too. Oh wow.
Well, they set the precedent with the depot. I mean, let's be honest here. Terran has burrowing. I mean, if you want to go ahead and say Zerg burrows, then I'm telling you, you're ignoring the depot, which Terran has to make in every single game. They probably made more depots than Zergs have burrowed. Boom. I just did it. So, Greg, you're just going to go ahead and quote Day 9 on the Shredder, which is, I mean, that's a moment
Yeah.
in time I didn't think I'd see, but go ahead.
There's some harass potential just dropping in mirror lines, and like you said, space control. It's perfect for that. And those are the things that I believe Terran are the best at, like controlling space with sensor towers, tanks, Thors, and turrets. I think that's by far better in terms of that than any other race has. I would have had no problem giving it to the Protoss, like obviously a Protoss-y version of it, but I think that would fill roles that they need a lot more than Terran.
So, just as an update for people, this is State of the Game episode 55. So if you're wondering, like, November-ish 2012, when you're making a video of IdrA, this is the episode that you quote, and you do, like, the Requiem of a Dream, and then, like, the zoom-in when he's talking about how Protoss should have the Shredder.
And in return, the Colossus should do it.
Greg, that little line can be edited out, buddy. You're already screwed, man. That's in. Okay, well, the next Terran unit is the Battle Hellion, which is actually not a new unit. It's just a Transformer in disguise. But what do you guys think about that? Sean?
Yes. I have no clue. I never saw it used. I think Tristan built one, but to be honest, when I played Heart of the Swarm, I lost to the computer 3 times in a row. Oh god, it was terrible. And it's because I did what everyone else did, which is build only new units. So I'm sitting there with like 3 Tempests from Protoss when they like walk in with a bunch of Marine Marauder, and I'm like, oh fuck, you can still build those units.
Yeah. Some jackass who
I-
makes Marine Marauder at the Heart of the Swarm testing area, like...
Yeah, no, I saw someone do that. I sat down. Actually, one of my friends, like, she sat next to me and she 4-gated and went Zealot Stalker and just killed Zerg.
The first
she
guy
only
that
had,
I
like,
found, he
1 gas
10-pulled. Yeah.
He 10-pulled you?
Yeah, he 10-pull link. And I was like, and I like did like 15 hatch. But he was really bad. He was like silver, so I just like used my drones and he lost all his shit. And I was like, really, dude?
You, like, cripple him on one drone and just tech to all the tech playing around with him. He's like...
These are really cool. You should try this. Like, yeah, thanks. I'm on 7 drones, you fucking asshole. Like, what?
Oh my God.
What does the Battle Hellion do? What makes it different? Isn't it like
Okay.
a cone?
Does he just
of
like
paint?
become a fire bat?
Hang on. I got a whole description ready for you guys, all right? So, you got your Hellion, all right? Fast-moving, dune buggy, handles Zerglings really well, but guess what? Shit, its health, not so high. Also, really troublesome. When it shoots its flame, narrow as shit. All right, really narrow shot, really stupid. But now, listen, Dustin Browder brings you the Battle Hellion form. So you hit a button. It's not an upgrade. Fuck that. That's stupid. That costs money and shit. It takes time. We don't need that. You need the Battle Hellion. So what the Battle Hellion does is when you're having a tough time getting that narrow flame to kill all the Zerglings, you can actually just turn it into a walker. And when it's in walker form, it goes, every fucking thing dies, and it waves its fire everywhere. It's a shorter range, but it has more health, and it walks slower. So when you're having a tough time with those A moves, because your Hellions are getting too far ahead of your siege tanks, which are killing everything anyways, you can just switch them over to Battle Hellion, and they take too long to get there, but they kill everything that comes close.
Wait, how much more health does it have? Is it, like, significantly more health? Like, how does that transformation work? That's kind of funky.
135 or something like that.
Huh. And it's, like, 90 before, right? So, like,
It's
huh.
100 before.
Hellions
So-
have 100 health?
What?
Yeah. Don't they? I'm pretty sure they do. Well, the chat will tell us in a minute.
I can never tell because I'm too busy looking at the smoking, like, ruins of my economy.
Pretty sure they die in 4 fungals. That's all I know about Hellions.
We're all doing StarCraft math, like, how many fungals does it take? And I'm going,
Well,
how
fuck
many
yeah.
stalker shots does it take? 35.
Chat
Well,
says everything from 75 to 100, so no idea.
What do you think, Greg?
90 HP sounds right.
I've
Yeah,
watched
it's-
a lot of
it's-
StarCraft.
It's
I know that-
90.
It is 90, okay.
Okay.
Seems
Chat,
like
I
100.
should tell you 1,000 times over. You just have to ask the question. But, IdrA, I know that actually you've had a pretty easy time with Hellions. You barely ever see them. In battle form, what are you thinking? What's the
I don't know, it
difference?
seems kind of weird. Like, I think there's nothing wrong with having a unit that's mainly harass-based. That's not supposed to be a straight-up fighter. And I don't know, I think it's good to have units like that. It makes the game interesting. It means you can't just do one thing or have one thing be important all the time. And to make that, it just seems entirely unnecessary to me. I don't understand it.
Interesting. Sean, anything to add before we move on?
I mean, I feel kind of like what would probably end up happening is that if mech became popular, you'd have players going tank Hellion and then have all their Hellions as battle Hellions and then 4 as normal, just like poaching the front lines.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I struggle to feel like anything I say about strategy holds any weight because I just like have no idea because there's like so much more interaction that I'm ignoring, but I guess it feels not as... Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel fine with it. It doesn't like make my eyes get wide or anything.
Some
I'm
people in the
opinionless,
chat
I
are
guess.
really dumb, though, by the way. So we all actually talked about the new units. We're just catching up with IdrA and Sean because we didn't get to hear their opinions. Quick update for the people in the chat that are too busy being dumb. Okay, so the
Too
next
busy
thing...
not watching every episode.
Yeah, obviously, or being dumb. Reapers now heal when they're away from battle. It's a lot like Protoss shield regeneration, and they also lost their C4 depth charges, or whatever the F you call them, the things that blow up all the buildings. So that's gone. And then they also removed the Thor and replaced it with the Double Down Thor, or the Mega Thor. It doesn't have an anti-air attack, but instead it now has an orbital shot that just, it's a barrage or something like that. Does 500 damage at area of effect right in front of it. Your thoughts, Sean?
I can't believe they removed the grenades from the Reaper.
Yeah,
I
that just
want them
happened.
to give those back. Because now it's like Reaper is the unit that only kills workers. As opposed to like Reaper, the harass unit that's like really brittle, but my god is it good at harassing. Like, I liked how in late game, like really late game TVP situations, you'd see Terrans just build like 6 Reapers with speed, and then just continue doing what else have you, and then they'd be able to like walk somewhere on Tal'Darim Altar and just take down a whole expansion ultra quick. Like that to me was like cool, but now that like, I don't know.
Greg?
That's it.
Anything about that
Sad.
Well, the Thor is just... I think Dustin actually said they don't expect Thor's new Thors to be used in competitive play. So that just seems like a really weird thing to me. And the Reapers, I don't know why you would give them regen. They're not supposed to be durable units. They are harassers. It doesn't fit the unit at all to make that change.
Mm. And then lastly, Terran unit is the Warhound, brought over from Mech Warrior 2. Not quite the not quite the Thor. It has pretty good anti-armored ground attack, and then its anti-air is, from what I understand, quite weak. It's not the Goliath.
It's anti-mechanical. It's
Am
like
I getting
the
that right,
only
guys?
bonus damage to mechanical. That like blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like, it's just really weird. To step in, here's my opinion about it. The art design does not look like a StarCraft 2 unit.
Yeah.
And that's all my opinion.
I thought it was supposed to be like really good against muters or something. I thought they introed it with, we're gonna fix how Terran deals with mutas. That's why the Thor changed. But it's not good against
4 plus 4 or 8 against light air units.
4 plus 4, yeah.
Okay, so it is anti-muta.
But it does 8
With
damage.
a small area of effect as well, I think.
I don't know. That sounds weird. That's the unit I've like seen the least of. I don't really know how it's gonna work. Weird. I don't know.
Okay. Protoss units. Okay, so we got the Tempest. 4 range anti-air, 37 damage anti-ground, capital ship 300 cost. Carrier is out, mothership is out, Tempest is in. Sean, your thoughts?
It didn't feel good when I tried it.
That's what she said.
Greg?
I don't know. It feels like Blizzard thinks mutas are overpowered versus Protoss, because like that video of the 4 Tempest just destroying like 30 mutas, you're not going to be able to make mass mutas at all anymore. It's just not. It's not going to happen.
I tried it against Mutalisk, and it didn't feel like these uber beasts of destruction. They sort of like blast and exploded, and like I actually remember Terran came into my base with 3 medevacs, and it just could not kill the medevacs.
Are they like bonus
dropped
first
did all the
light
damage.
or what?
It's like I
Well,
thought it was
splash
25
damage is a big
solid.
thing. Okay.
Yeah, 25 solid with splash. I wanted to say.
I guess
I don't know
it's
if
a splash and how well you can spread versus them and all that. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. And then what do you guys think about the Replicator, the guy that turns into non-massive units, comes out of the Robo, 200 cost, and you have to have sight of what you're replicating?
I really hope Protosses make it versus me, because I think including a Zerg unit in your army makes it worse. So I'm a big fan of that one.
There it is, Greg. I knew you were in there somewhere. Sean, anything?
To me, I was really intrigued by the fact that the build time was so short. That to me is pretty cool. It seems like an instant response unit with that sort of purpose, or the purpose seems like it would be instant response with that sort of statistic. But yeah, I am real torn on that one. Like I have absolutely no clue at all.
It'd be hard to balance.
My same friend who forgated used a replicator to replicate a roach.
What?
At which point she burrowed the roach, and then
She could move it after that too. That's kind of cool.
yeah.
A 200 roach. I think that sounds good.
That takes 30 seconds to build.
Yeah. Okay. And then what about the Oracle? I think this is the one that has a lot of people scratching their heads in terms of like, is it good or is it bad? It has the ability to lock down defensive structures, but then also lock down crystals or minerals. And it's really fast. Doesn't have a lot of health. Greg, what do you think about it?
It's really interesting. Like that is something that's absolutely new as far as I know. Just directly shutting down resources. You could use disruption. Disruption Rift didn't affect it, and you can block them with force fields, but that's a different kind of thing. To actually just make them completely unmineable for a period of time. It's a really interesting idea, and everyone says Protoss needs harass units, and that's one way of doing it. But it's not actually doing damage. It does slow them down. Another thing I've heard, it disables building, so I imagine it disables Protoss and Terran production. For Zerg, I've also seen people say, like, if you disable a Hydra Den, then you can't make any Hydras out of your hatcheries. That would be a really, really interesting application. You go in and you block a Roach Warren or whatever, and you attack with your army, and then they can't reproduce on roaches, which is the ideal thing to counter your army composition. That would have a lot of really cool applications. It could be a cool unit if they can balance it. That's how it works. I think it's interesting, at least, and it does fill some needed roles in the Protoss army.
Quick note, I just got a text from Dustin Browder. He said, IdrA, you had asked for force fields to have health troll face. What did I say? IdrA's health? I said crystals, force fields. Did I mess up my own joke?
What?
I just don't see the point.
The force fields have health. That's the point I'm trying to make. They lock down minerals and they have health.
Oh, they have health? They're disrupting it? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I just murdered my own joke, but the point I'm trying to make is that you had asked for health on those force fields and you got them, buddy.
Except you put it on a less useful spell that doesn't really...
Details. I mean, come on. Sean, what do you think about it?
It was far and away my second favorite thing in the entire Heart of the Swarm. Far and away. After the Arclight, or the Arc. Was it Arclight? I don't know. I think that's a theater in LA.
Arc Shield.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Arc Shield. There we go. That's right. Arclight's a theater in LA. Yeah, oh god, it's so fun and creates a lot of cool options. It like, literally, I saw it and I was just like, boom, got it. It was the first unit I built and it was way mega fun to use. So I don't even care if it's in any sort of balanced state. It's one of those things that I think will only make the game better. My favorite thing, though, is that the Nexus has two other abilities. For 25 energy, you can turn a building basically into a cannon. That's okay, except it's great against light units. Nexuses have recall. Basically,
Yes.
Town Portal.
That's where we're moving next.
So
ahead.
I ran up to JP. We were playing a game next to each other. I looked over. I saw where he was. I sent a probe there, and then I Arc Shield rushed him and killed him quickly. You just build pylons in his worker line. Just boom. They became cannons. He was done.
You told me that story.
Unstoppable.
He was very
God,
happy
it was
about
wonderful. Oh, I was so happy. And he's sick. He can't even complain about it.
So the spells, I mean, there's the Arc Shield and then there's the Town Hall Recall. Sean talked a little bit about the Arc Cannon. Greg, I know that you're on record as saying that Protoss cannons upset you and they're one of the only defensive structures to be killed by, but now you can actually be killed by anything.
You can be killed by a cannon that doesn't require a
You
forge.
can be killed by an assimilator, my friend.
Yeah, it's obviously going to have to be, like, it cannot exist in the current way. It's just you can gas rush them and then put a cannon on top of that, or you do a zealot rush and you automatically have access to the cannons. You just put up a pylon there. It has to change, and beyond that, again, it seems like it doesn't really fit the race they put it on. Protoss already has warp in, and cannons are pretty good by themselves. So like they already have really good spot defense. You can have an army wherever you want in just a few seconds. So it doesn't make much sense. It would fit Terran more. It would fill a hole in Terran. I don't know. It's just weird. And then Recall could be incredibly overpowered. We've already seen a ton of really cool well, not a ton, but some really cool applications of it on the mothership.
We've seen Kiwi Cox enter tournaments.
We've seen Kiwikaki do it a bunch of times, yeah. And other Protosses should have been doing it. And so now if that's cheaper and a lot more accessible, I could see that becoming overpowered, maybe. But that's the kind of thing that can be tweaked in terms of the cost of mana and the radius of the recall, so I don't see that being tweaked. But Arc Shield has to change. I'm not sure if it should really be there at all.
I agree. I think you should do more damage. All right, guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. That was Sean and IdrA's thoughts on the new Heart of the Swarm units. We weren't able to get their opinion on the last or previous day of the game, so that's why we did that. A lot of people are saying, why isn't Tyler or Steven talking? That's because we're going to questions now. So if you have questions, shoot them at itmejp. There is an @ in the front of that for Twitter. Go ahead and ask them some questions. We'll take the best. All the rest of them are really dumb and awful. And we looked at it specifically, read it out loud, laughed, and decided not to use it. It's actually what went down. So stay tuned. After this commercial, we'll get some questions in there, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, welcome back. We're going to do some user questions. Again, if you have any good questions, go ahead and shoot them at itmejp on Twitter, and we'll fire them up on our show here, Say the Game. But before we do that, Sean is a busy workhorse of a man, so he's going to have to peace on us. Sean, we love you. Any shout-outs before you go, buddy?
Oh, excuse me. I'd like to personally thank each and every one of the wonderful Redditors and Team Liquiders and Day 9 viewers who tuned in and watched me shriek and lose my manhood during Amnesia yesterday. I'll be doing it tomorrow on Wednesday. And of course, if you're watching this on any archive anywhere, don't worry because all videos are always at day9.tv. So thank you so much for the recommendation. And I've been doing also some tweaks to the show, and I'm really happy that people are sending their feedback. So basically, anyone who has ever sent me feedback or watched and raffled in the chat, you guys are awesome. And these other 4 pillars who are in State of the Game, you 4 gentlemen are awesome as well.
Right back at you, buddy. Okay. Sean.
Done! Peace! Take it easy, guys.
All right, see you, man. And that should change the tempo a little bit, guys. You guys might notice that. But we're going to do some questions here. I got one for Greg real quick. He says, IdrA, can you explain the problems you had at ESWC? I think you had made that tweet rather. And then how were your games against LiveZerg?
It was more a matter of just being spoiled by IPL, well, MLG and particularly IPL. They just treated us so well. Like, IPL babied us completely. They held our hands through every match, and they gave us food, and they had practice areas, multiple practice areas for all of us, and they just did everything for us. And MLG, they don't do nearly that much. They have a pro player area that's not as big, and the admins don't really hold your hand that much, but they make sure you're where you're supposed to be. They give you the money on time and all that. They're all competent in what they do, and they run a good tournament and stuff. ESWC, they have everything spread out. It was like 3 hours between matches, and there was no food, or, well, no good affordable food at the place, but that's like not enough time to go, and so you just had this awkward amount of downtime between matches, and the admins blow you off. They tell you sit there and they tell you play your match like 10 minutes before it starts. And the admins, my admin didn't speak English and didn't know anything at all about StarCraft 2, and I don't know, you just got that kind of, it was just a blah thing. They didn't really pay attention to the players at all, and it was at a convention center, and I think tournaments really need to move away from that. They're always just terrible. You have to move through massive crowds of people, and the food's bad, and it's just not nearly as good as IPL or MLG. And it just felt like a sloppy tournament in general.
What is the IdrA dream venue?
IPL not at a casino. I dislike that whole part of the thing, but otherwise IPL was really, really, really good.
Well, what kind of place, though? Stadium?
Oh, actually, I don't know. We haven't seen one at an actual stadium yet. I don't know how that would be. I think MLGs are good. They just have them in halls or whatever. It's just a big building that they have the MLG. And it's only MLG. I think that's just fine. And as for my games versus LiveZerg, he's just kind of a really aggressive... Yeah, he's cheesy. He opens one base, speedling, baneling aggression every time, and then does something risky. First 2 games it was a roach all-in, and first game I didn't hold it, second game I did, and the third one I think he took a really fast third base, but he just went into mutiling, baneling, and he had a lot more mutas than I expected. I tried a roach hydra timing, and it didn't work.
Okay, so there you have it. Now the next question that gets brought up here, JP's feeding them at me. It's to me, do you have any plans to go to Korea when IdrA and Muslim are there? The answer is yes. I will not be in the same function that they are. Obviously, they're competing in Code A, and I think they're going to stay at the Slayer's house. I will probably be staying with Artosis or something like that. And same reasons, training, trying to take advantage of Korea, but perhaps doing some other activities, StarCraft-related. We'll have to wait and see what that may be. Next question. JP, you got to get more at me, buddy. I'm curious what everyone's favorite meals are on State of the Game. Stephen Bonnell. Stephen Bonnell, too. What are your favorite meals?
I like spaghetti. I don't know. I'll eat pretty much anything if there's meat involved. That sounded kind of gay, but...
How is the spaghetti prepared? Like, what kind of... Walk me down it.
I don't like noodles and, like, sauce with meat in it.
What kind? Yeah.
That's the best kind of spaghetti.
Meat sauce?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Steven.
Nice.
Tyler? What does the chili sauce do?
Well, for a quick, easy meal, unhealthy meal too, cheese ramen, man. So good.
Yeah, it is.
Nice and spicy. Get some cheese in there, American cheese. So good.
Yep.
For a nicer meal, I usually like to eat fish. A lot of kinds of fish, doesn't really matter.
Fish and rice type of thing?
Fish and usually vegetables, but could be some rice. But yeah.
Greg, what do you eat? LOL.
My favorite meal would be like a really, really nice steak, but only if it's really, really nice. Like an average steak isn't actually that high up relative to other average foods. But a really, really good steak, and I like all meat. Otherwise, I'm not too picky.
And macaroni for me, obviously. The greatest food ever conceived, I believe. Next question is, who is JP and why is he so famous in our community? Steven.
You know, state of the game?
Okay.
That was my contribution. This is like a multi-part answer, so now the next person answers the next part of it. Of course, I know everything.
MLG.
So JP, the commentator and the state of the gamer.
He's telling us what to say right now, guys. Tyler, why is he so famous? Who is JP?
Oh, who is he?
Let's actually add who is JP to you at the end of that.
Look, well, he was a WoW player, man. He made his career on WoW, as far as I know.
I think that's really it, actually. Like, we can just leave it at the WoW stuff. He hasn't really done shit from StarCraft 2.
Oh, that's harsh, man. JP loses his voice, and now...
You got Masters playing random, man.
Yeah, hey, people underestimate how good he is at StarCraft. Like, okay, he started out terrible, and he actually put some work in and became Masters at random. That's decent.
Yeah.
Nice, somewhere in between HD and Husky in terms of skill of the game. I'm just kidding.
Bad.
Straight up the meanest I've ever said. I think that's it right there. Greg, who is JP? Why is he so famous? And how much do you love him?
He's a WoW player.
Mm-hmm.
Although, despite that, I love him very much. And no, he's actually... what Tyler said is right. He actually works really hard, and like he asks a lot of pro players questions, tries to figure out. He works really hard to improve his commentating, and I think that's kind of underappreciated. But yeah, he does a lot of stuff behind the scenes at MLG, and he's the person we all go yell at about maps and invites and format and all that. And he has to put up with us, and pro players are really hard to put up with because we're all dicks. So he deserves a lot of appreciation.
He is the creator and host of State of the Game, the most popular StarCraft 2 podcast. That should be all that you need to know to love the guy, but there's actually more. He was like the number one, diplomat, if you will, between MLG and StarCraft 2. Yes, he has this horrible background in WoW, but he made up for it by basically forging the MLG StarCraft 2 world that we know now. Like, he's actually hugely responsible for that, and he deserves all the respect in the world for that, as far as I'm concerned. So JP, okay, and JP also wants me to say that he's got really good fashion sense and a beautiful girlfriend. And, yeah, should I? He wants to say he's well endowed as well. All right, calm down, ladies, calm down. At me, or JP, again, the questions go to me, JP. What were you guys for Halloween? Tyler.
I didn't do anything, man. I watched House, played StarCraft. Yeah.
Sweet. If you could have been something for Halloween and you had an unlimited budget.
Dude, I would like get real fucking buff, and I would be like Mr. Freeze from like Arnold Schwarzenegger was. That was an elaborate costume that he had. Yeah. That would be sick if I did that. Don't count on it, though.
With like the LED lights and the ice skates.
Yeah.
The different outfits that were all ice-based. Like he had his nighttime jacket and shit. Like, what are we going to do? Time to cool it down. Stephen Bonnell. Again, I'm assuming you didn't do anything for Halloween either?
Actually, I walked around with my kid and we went trick-or-treating. It was kind of fun. He was a spider.
I can't make fun of that. That's too adorable. Assuming you didn't give a heartfelt response, if you had an unlimited budget and you couldn't include your child, what would you guys be?
I had a really terrible dream, much less of a heartfelt response that same night. Actually, it was the night before that I had dressed him up as a banling, and I was able to throw him at people, and he'd explode. I did this like 15 times over the course of the night, and he seemed to enjoy it, but I mean, I don't know if there was some way to make that work. I think that'd be pretty entertaining.
Well, at least he comes back, right, in your dream, like, so it's kind of...
Yeah, every time, yeah, he seemed
I
pretty
didn't get
happy
that
with
part at first. I thought it was like...
Oh my god. Well, there is the response that if I were a therapist, we'd have to have a separate talk about that. But Greg, I know that you spent your Halloween with me, so I'm not going to ask this like I don't know. We ended up watching Misery. He fell asleep to it, the Stephen King movie. But let's say you weren't awesome and didn't want to stay at home and hang out with another awesome dude. What would you do with an unlimited budget for Halloween?
I don't know. I'm terrible at questions like that.
You want me to answer it for you?
Sure.
Okay. Greg would walk around on stilts in a top hat with a monocle and an old-timey, like, early 1900s aristocrat outfit, and he would judge people from higher ground than them. So he would just walk around and lambaste everybody with judgments for their outfits and their just general demeanor, and he would do it in his best accent from the old times possible. He would, that's what he'd do. And that's everybody. Well, actually, okay, JP, utter into my ear what you would do. Unlimited budget. That's okay. Okay. JP doesn't have an answer for people that can't hear his beautiful voice. I don't know
Jeff,
what's going on.
Jeff, he just gave you creative license to make up anything you wanted.
Yeah, I was going to say, would he do
it.
that in the boys' bathroom or the girls'
JP,
bathroom?
Here's what JP would do, okay? And someone, here's the thing, power of the internet, I expect a picture of this by the end of tonight on Reddit. If it's not there, a lot of problems. JP as Frankenstein, okay? Green skin, bolts in the forehead, shriveled jacket, and then he would, he would just walk around and ask for brains and stuff. Kind of a zombie Frankenstein thing. Expect that picture. Okay? Me, like I said, I watched Misery with Greg. If you guys haven't seen that movie, it's on Netflix right now. It's phenomenal. It's a great movie. One of the best hobbling scenes, I think, in movie history, if not the only one. I actually had Anna watch it. She doesn't watch horror movies. And the whole time she was like, does this make you happy? Are you happy that I'm terrified? She's a good trooper, right? It's good, she says. She's happy about that. Okay. Do we have any other questions? I think that's it. Do we have more? No, we got one more. There's a couple. We got two more. Okay, two more questions. Greg, we saw his teammates Huck travel so much and his play suffer for it. How is he dealing with all the travel, and does he think his play will be affected by it? So, Greg, if you could please be Huck's secretary, go ahead.
Different players deal with different aspects of competition in different ways. I've never had much of a problem with fatigue, I feel. Like, people were saying at MLG, oh, well, he's up on stage, 4 matches row, obviously he's going to lose to MC. I felt like I was playing just as well as I was at the start, if not better, because I was up there, I was comfortable, I was on a roll. I don't really have a problem with that. There are extreme situations, like at IPL, I was on China time, and I just couldn't sleep in that hotel room for some reason, and that was enough to mess me up. But generally speaking, no, just like from America to Europe, that kind of jet lag, if there's no other problems, or playing a bunch of tournaments in a row, I don't feel that bothers me too much at all. And so far, I feel I've been playing pretty much as well as I can. Obviously, I'm not getting better, because that is the one thing. I've had like 3 or 4 days in the house for the last month. So I'm just not practicing. I don't have time to practice and improve. And since CDP did go through a pretty big change with the recent patch, and I just haven't had practice games since then, that worries me that I'm not going to be able to like keep up with the meta game, so to speak. So that is my biggest concern with it. No, I think my results kind of speak for themselves. I've been playing well. I've had relatively good results. The SWC was obviously disappointing, but that was a bit of a fluke. So I don't think it's going to be as big a problem for me as it was for Chris.
Well said. Okay, Tyler, last question goes to you. Do you feel that a new player of StarCraft 2 is too late to the scene to ever hope to be pro?
No, of course not. That's ridiculous. I mean, I was like 5 years late to StarCraft 1, and then like 3 years later I was in Korea. So anyone at any time can start playing really seriously and really try to become as good as they can. And, you know, a year later or 2 years later, they could be one of the best. So I don't think it'll ever be too late for anyone, honestly.
There you go. All right, guys. Thanks for watching us say the game. We're going to do shout-outs real quick, and then I'm going to hold up Barrison the Bold. He is sleeping right now, but you guys get to see him because that's my treat to you. That's my gift to you. Let's go Stephen Bonnell, number 2, with the shout-outs.
Thanks to everybody that watches me. Thanks to JP for having me on the show. Thanks to Cloud9 Labs for hosting my website. And thanks for Quantic for having me on their team.
Destiny, you didn't do enough trolling this episode, by the way. I gotta say, man, you're way too serious. I don't know what happened. We're counting on you to piss off Greg. We're counting on Greg to flip out, and then we're counting on JP to get upset about it. And then we need the thread on Team Liquid to grow. But okay, maybe next time. Tyler, what's up, man?
Thank you, Team Liquid. The Little App Factory, Razer, and Twitch are our sponsors. Thank you to Stride Gum for sponsoring me. Everyone check me out. I'm streaming a lot more. It's twitch.tv/LiquidTyler. Follow me on Twitter so that you know when I'm streaming. I tweet every single time I start streaming, so that's the easiest way to know. And I just released vlog number 2. I think vlogging is awesome. It hasn't caught on. Every other pro gamer's an idiot. You should vlog.
Okay,
I'm
Milkus.
thinking about it. Yeah.
No, vlogging is pretty cool, man. Like, you need to, get your personality out there. A lot of pro gamers do. I mean, you guys don't. You've already gotten your personality out there, but a lot of people could benefit from it. Anyway, I got vlog number 2 out there. So watch that, and I think that's about it.
Tyler's forgetting to list the other reason why you should vlog. You only have to do one every, 3 months.
Yeah. 10 minutes every 3 months. Everyone loves you. It's pretty nice.
After watching how dressed up you got NASL application, I was a little bit disappointed to see just the white T-shirt for your vlog. I'll lie.
But I like the low V-neck like this.
Not low enough.
Chest hair is good. Chest hair's
So,
Need to
just
bring
a
back,
reminder.
Need to bring back the bathrobe and the candles and everything.
I'll try to be more creative on vlog number 3.
3 months from now.
Yeah, 3 months. I got 3 months to work on it.
IdrA.
Thanks to all our viewers and fans and supporters, everyone out there. Also thanks to Team Evil Geniuses, all our sponsors, Intel SteelSeries, Monster, Kingston, and Beyond Gaming. And they've actually told us that we now have too many sponsors, so we don't have to list all of them, just the biggies. So those are the ones who are really awesome. You can go to our website, myeg.net, and see all the ones who are just slightly less awesome. And one of those is SplitReason.com. It actually makes this T-shirt, and you should all go buy this. SplitReason.com/EG. It's the release of the Kraken shirt. It's mine, and it's really, really cool. So go buy it. And that is everything. Thank you.
Wow, move over to Liam Neeson for voiceovers. IdrA's coming in. Jesus. Again, no laughter. You guys are so boring. Thank
I
you.
didn't know Liam Neeson did voiceovers. I thought he was just
Yeah! Kidding me? That guy's
I thought
so
he just did
epic.
the actual thing. I don't know.
He does voiceovers. You guys, is a whole new world for you.
Huh.
Quick shout-outs for me. I'm going to be streaming iNcontroL TV on Twitch TV. Go check it out. I'm playing all 3 servers right now. And based on the way the ladder's going, I'll probably be in Masters in all 3 of them. Because I don't think I'll be playing at the 12th hour of the start of each Grandmaster opening. Hopefully that gets fixed. We didn't talk about that today, but I'm pretty sure everyone's opinion would be LOL, that's stupid, so I don't think we need to talk about that.
I think it's good because
too
it
much.
rewards players that are on top of the ladder. I'm playing devil's advocate.
Dude, you gotta see the posts on Reddit of these people that are like, after trying so hard for
Yeah,
a year, I am now Grandmaster.
I know.
Yeah, these guys make these huge improvements. I was Diamond last season, and
Yeah.
oh boy.
Oh, I'm so excited. I waited till 12:01. I played my game. Yeah. Okay, and then also, shout out to my team, obviously Evil Geniuses, same sponsors as IdrA, but we'll be at Providence, I think the full roster for the most part, And hoodies are on sale. A lot of people have been asking about that. But there's also a beanie. There's a Justin Wong shirt, an IdrA shirt, and there's more to be coming. Obviously, we're going to get some Huck stuff out there as well as other things. Also, want to give some mad props to my dog, Barriston the Bold, obviously. Keeps my life poopy and PE. Still learning that one. He was batting 7 for 7 in the first 2 days we got him. He actually pooped outside, but then in one day he ruined that. He was batting significantly less than that. So, who else? Twitter, iDrA, add me there. And again, before we sign off, let me grab my dog, and we'll show him off real quick on the stream. Come here, dude. Come here. Wake up, you poop. Come here. Come on. He actually might not get up. I might just have to move my webcam. That's him. Can you guys see him? You guys got to help me out. I can't see.
I can. It's dark. It's dark though.
Yeah, we can see the dog, Jeff.
But we can see the dog.
It's dark though. Look at him try to get up because he's tired.
You've woken the beast, Jeff. Way to go.
Here he comes. Here he comes.
Oh
Give him a look.
no. Oh no.
Barriston. Whoop. Say hi to the internet. Barriston.
It's a really bad dog joke you can make right now, but Anna seems like a nice girl, and I don't feel like...
Steven, you've gotten soft, man. What's going on?
You already made the... Damn it, Steven!
Just want to plant the seeds in everybody's head.
Yeah, that's fine. Alright, that's it for me, but also, JP, they're not going to be able to hear you, so I'll just do it for you guys. I think if that's okay.
They can hear me now. Jeff, thank you for hosting the show, man. That's all I wanted to say for him.
Yeah.
Well,
it's my pleasure.
So, we might not do a show next week. I'm supposed to be in New York, but I might not go because I've been sick, so I don't want to infest the office. But we'll play it by ear. I'll let you guys know on Twitter and in the thread, and let you guys know on Skype, obviously in the show. But thanks for coming on, Destiny, Greg. Thanks for coming on last minute, Tyler and Jeff, as always. But that's it. You guys have anything else?
No, just love all you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We had a huge audience. We were up to almost 20,000, and I'm a novice host, so forgive me. But other than that, thank you, everybody.
All right, time to go chug some NyQuil. We'll see you guys next week. We're out. Peace.
No pants clock over here, folks.
Gotta say is it's an honor to play you, Teeler, and let's give the audience the show of a lifetime.
Oh.
It apparently looks like I was wearing lipstick, by the way. I can't confirm or deny that.
Like literally, like, hey Sean, so what's gonna be the first segment? Like, who's sponsoring? Now is it like